Okay, what up ladies and gents? Today I am going to make a video on how to properly follow a build. Doesn't matter if it's my build or somebody else's build. Look, I'm going to be straight with you guys. I don't know how much longer I have on TFD if player count keeps dropping. So on the off chance that I have to stop playing at some point in future so that I can continue my career elsewhere and continue to feed my family, I want to leave you guys with this guide. Hopefully I won't have to, but in case you have to follow somebody else and you're confused about their explanations or you don't know how to follow the build that they've made, this guide will show you how you can make a build and how to understand a build no matter who's making the content, all right, or what information is given. As long as the basic information is there, you will be able to follow their build. So that is what this guide is for. I hope it'll be helpful to new players, returning players, or players that might be around when I'm not around or whatever else. Either way, I just hope it helps you. Now, if you guys want to support my content, feel free to drop a like. All right. You can do so by hitting the thumbs up. If you want to send me extra love, you can hit the 3 dots and send me a super thanks, but I'll leave that up to you, whether that's up to you whether you want to or not. If you got no money, that's completely fine. You can actually just support me by playing my tracks on SoundCloud and on Spotify or all other major music platforms where I'm a verified artist. I now get paid whenever you play my music. So those who do that, thank you very much. Okay, now a lot of people have told me that they find it difficult to follow builds or that they follow the build but they don't get the exact same result. All right, let's walk through it step by step. We'll use my Kyle as an example right here. The first step of any build, whether it is a skill-based descendant or a gun-based descendant, whether it's for bossing or farming, the first step is your reactor. Okay, let me remove my cam here and let's talk about it together. The reactor is the basis of the build because the reactor provides your character with skill power, all right, as well as crucial bonuses. The bonuses are the gold colored things that you see down the bottom. These are called reactor options. Now, when farming an appropriate reactor, you don't have to worry about getting gold rolls because you can upgrade any roll to a gold roll. All right, so the build will usually tell you, hey guys, please use a reactor that is non-attribute tech. This is referring to the type of skills in the build that is most crucial to be buffed by the reactor. So as you can see there under skill power boost ratio, this reactor for Kyle will buff non-attribute skill powers as well as tech skill powers. All right. The options for the reactor are skill cooldown as well as additional skill attack when attacking a Colossus, right? So this is made for bossing, but of course, whatever build you follow, please follow the options that they highlight for you as well as the type of reactor that they highlight. Now, what do you do if you don't have a reactor that has gold rolls? Well, you come to this machine right here, the auxiliary workbench, right? There are things called reactor enhancement, reactor option enhancement, external component option enhancement. All right, this is where you'll find them. I'm going to remove my cam so you can see it. For the reactor enhancement, this is how you end up changing this from a no star reactor to a 5-star reactor. Enhancing a reactor's stars, okay, increases the amount of skill power. As you can see there, if I upgrade it all the way, this reaches the maximum value. Most skill-based descendants will require a maximum enhanced reactor. You will need dimension analyzers to do so, so make sure you go and craft those at Anae. She is the person where you do all your research, all right? That's reactor enhancement. Now for the options, okay, let's pick the same reactor. This one has a purple skill cost. If I were to spend these materials, which you can farm easily from Sigma Sector or by dismantling reactors, you can enhance the option, therefore changing an option from, say, purple to gold. So let's enhance this option right now. If I enhance it one more time, it becomes gold. Do you see how that works? This is how you enhance your reactor options. So the roll that you get doesn't matter. What matters is getting the correct options. What do I mean by that? If a build tells you that you need skill cooldowns and skill attack versus Colossus, roll those, even if it's blue, it doesn't matter. You can do that by having the appropriate junk filters. I'm sure you guys have seen the junk filter video. Once you have the appropriate options, you can just level them up from blue all the way to gold, and you have a perfect reactor for your character. Okay? Every build starts with a reactor. Next, external components. External components provide the defensive capabilities for your descendant. External components will basically cover your health, shields, defense, all of that. Now, most builds, when it comes to external components, they usually use the same rolls. The first 2 rolls that you see, the max HP X and defense X, these are core rolls. Excuse me. The external component cores are usually farmed in the Sigma sector, but you can get them in a variety of locations as well. But the most important thing is following the roles that are used for the build. 90% of builds are all going to use the same roles, but some builds do deviate a little bit because they're trying to get a particular advantage or something like that. So make sure you follow what the builder says when they tell you this is what the external component looks like. Grab a screenshot if you have to. All right, so one way of doing it would be like, okay, so let's say I'm showcasing the auxiliary power. First are the 2 core roles. Then there are the 2 option roles. The option roles in this particular case are max HP, MP recovery out of combat. Now, in some character cases, like for example, Kyle does not really need MP, but because we use the same components on other characters, I've chosen not to try and find a different role, but you can if you want to. And again, it is up to the builder what they want to showcase to you guys. Some of them will do more specialized builds. All right, so just obey what they tell you in terms of the core and the options, and you're good to go. The rest of the stats are all set. For example, the max shield of 275 right at the top of the auxiliary power, this will not change no matter what. The only thing that changes are the options and the cores. How do you change the options and the cores on your external components? Okay, let me show you that right away. Now, when it comes to the cores, you want to come here, okay? External component cores, do you see that? Let me just remove my camera. External component cores, you go in there. You can roll the external component cores on whatever else. There is a guide that will be provided the first time you go in. So let's say I want to roll max HP and make it better. I would choose, like, say, a tier 10 core, and I will try and roll max HP of, say, a higher level than I had before. In this case, I didn't get what I wanted, so I roll again. So this is how you roll the cores, all right? You do the same for the defense core. For the options on the external component, you come to the auxiliary workbench, external component option enhancement. You do it exactly the same way as you do for the reactors. Let's say this one is not fully enhanced. I can choose to spend the enhancement materials, which are obtained by dismantling external components that you don't need. And all you do is option enhance, and you can turn the purples into golds. As you can see up there, this one is turned into a gold roll. I can enhance it further all the way to the maximum value. So again, it doesn't matter what color options you roll. As long as you roll the correct options, you will get the same results as the builder, YouTuber, whatever. All right, you'll be able to get the exact same results. So just follow what they do. Take note of the core rolls, the option rolls, and the external component sets that they are using. Okay, so if the build says full enlightened mage, for example, then you want an enlightened mage auxiliary power, sensor, mage memory, processor. Make sure you copy their roles, and you're good to go. Okay. Now, reactor and external components provide your skill power as well as your defensive capabilities. What is the next step in a build? Okay, most builds will then go into the modules. Now, I do it a little differently, but most builds will then go into the modules for the Descendant. So let's go into the Descendant module page. What you have to do here is you want to follow exactly what they put in there. Where you see a green number, it means that they have catalyzed the slot. For example, here we've put a cerulean socket in so that when I insert a cerulean module, the cost is halved. Most builds will have every single slot catalyzed. Some don't because some of them can achieve better results with cheaper modules, but it's usually fine. All right, this is what they will do. So make sure you follow that. All right, do what they tell you. If they tell you that this build requires X, Y, Z, whatever, then you just follow that. All you got to do is plug in the correct modules. Now, farming the modules might be a little bit of a headache, but for those of you that struggle with module farming, please take note that what you can do, all right, this is a bit of a cheaper way to do it, but you can go to locations where they drop a lot of modules. 2 examples are the Axian Plains, as well as any of the 400% missions. You can run around the 400% missions with, say, Bunny, right? You can grab all the modules that are dropped. Then you go all the way over here to this guy. Now, it's going to cost you gold, but you can combine modules. Let's say I want to combine my spare purple modules, right? So view duplicate modules only. Sorry, let me just show you that. Okay, so view duplicate modules only for my purples. Then I'll just select all. These will select all the duplicates. I've got 67 potential combinations. So that's a lot, right? It's going to cost me 500,000 gold. No problem. Combine. And then it'll give you a whole bunch of new purple modules, some gold modules as well, which you can see right there. All right. What this will do is it will enable you to earn modules that you haven't earned before because all modules can be obtained from combining. So this system can be used if you are struggling to get a particular module, you're just getting all these different modules that you don't need, and farming is not working for you. Just go to 400%, just farm a whole bunch of purple modules or blue modules and combine. Same way for the gold modules, transcendent modules, although those are a little bit tougher to obtain. But I think you understand the principle and the purpose behind this. Yeah? Make sure that you select only the duplicates because you don't want to be using up a module that you actually might need later down the line. Use up all your duplicates, keep combining, and then you will be able to find the modules you need. Now, if you need to check which modules you do not have yet, go to the map, and then do you see the library tab up the top? You go to the library tab up there, right? And then you can go to modules. Like, let's take a look at, say, Descendant modules. You can change the filter to say not owned. And for example, I have every single module. It says up the top there, overall completion. You can follow that as well. But basically, if you just select not owned, it'll show you what you're missing, where to get it, all that kind of stuff. And of course, while combining, this list will grow smaller and smaller until you have everything. All right, so modules are the next step. Once again, quick summary. Any of the modules that they have in here, make sure you follow them. Make sure you have the correct sockets so that you can have the cost of the modules. Upgrade them to the appropriate levels that are shown in the build video, and you're pretty much good to go. After the Descendant modules, you'll be taught about trigger modules. Trigger modules is something that is usually unlocked toward endgame because it requires you to have put 10 catalysts into your Descendant and maxed out their Arche Tuning. But usually in the same section where they cover modules, most builders will cover the trigger module as well because it just makes sense. It's on the same page. All right, but remember that this is an endgame thing. So for some builds, they'll say like Power Beyond or whatever. All you need to do is like just go to the trigger module page, search Power Beyond, and all the ones here will show up, and then you can delete the ones that you don't need and whatnot and everything from there. All right, so make sure you do that, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, next step. For most guides, the next step will cover the weapon. Okay, for gun-based Descendants, they will usually tell you what the weapon stats are. This is a bit more complex, so I'm going to need you to pay attention. The next step in most builds is the weapon, and the weapon consists of core rolls, which you are seeing up there where it says sprint speed, firearm critical hit damage X. Where you see that X symbol, usually that is the core roll. And where you can get these core rolls is at the same workbench. So coming over here, okay, weapon core, you're going to want to put in cores of, say, the tier 10. So for example, these tier 10 cores, because cores will have different rolls. Do you see the rolls on the left hand side? All right, if you were to use a rank 7 core, for example, you're going to have only a maximum sprint speed of 12%. But a tier 10 core can go from a sprint speed of 10% to 20%. So Bill will just tell you that, roll that, and then you see what you get. Okay, this is worse, so I keep my existing option. That's how you roll the cores on your weapons. Okay, for most gun builds, the cores are pretty important because they can spike your damage or make the weapon a lot more useful than it normally would be. So follow the cores. After that, they will usually also show you the weapon options. The weapon options are the ones below the cores, which says firearm critical hit rate, critical hit damage. These are the 4 options that every weapon can have. All right, all ultimate weapons can have your 4. Actually, do purple weapons have them? It's been so long since I've had a... Okay, purple weapons have them too. But basically, weapon readjustment is something that you will do at a different workbench. So give me a second. Come here. There you go. Weapon workbench, weapon readjustment. Do you see that option right there? Again, camera moved. Weapon readjustment, you go in there and you can roll these. Now you can choose to lock these in and then try for a better roll here. But unlike the other one, you cannot keep your existing roll. So if I were to readjust, then this roll is gone. It'll be replaced by whatever I roll, and I've got to keep rolling until I get a roll that I want. So weapon readjustment, what people normally do is they will roll all 4, try and get a gold roll in one of the crucial rolls. So let's say I need critical hit rate and critical hit damage here. Then I'll try and get a gold roll there. Then I'll try and keep getting at least 3 gold rolls. And the last one, if I can get a high enough purple, that's usually good enough for me for most builds. That way I don't waste too many resources and I can save my time and effort. All right. So for most weapons, for most builds, if they start talking about the weapon, you need to first follow the core rolls, okay, and then the weapon readjustments. After that, they will show you the weapon modules. Same principle as following the Descendant modules. Make sure you copy the modules that they use and make sure you have the exact socket that is put in there. And of course, put in your energy activator and all the rest of that. Now, again, if you do not have a particular module, either farm it or combine modules and you'll be able to get it. Okay, great. Now you've been able to follow the reactor, external components, the Descendant modules, including trigger module if you're at that stage of the game, and then you'll be able to follow the weapon. All right, if it is necessary for the build. If the weapon is only being used as what we call a stat stick, then usually what I will do in my videos is I'll say, okay, this is just a stat stick, so copy the cores, copy the roles. All right, here is the module build. If you want to follow it, you can take a screenshot, but you don't really have to have this. What is most important is that the unique ability, all right, of this weapon is fully upgraded. So let's go into details. Unique ability, fully upgraded all the way. Why? And then I'll usually explain. Like for Kyle, in this particular case, he uses tech-based skills, right? And whenever he uses a tech-based skill, the Secret Garden will buff him via the Pest Control unique effect over there, which will increase his skill power for every stack of pest control. Yeah? All right, so that is how stat sticks work. If the build requires a weapon as a stat stick, you gotta be holding it in your hands. So Kyle will just be holding this weapon in his hands to gain the buffs and benefits, and then off you go murdering everything with the build. All right, so all this covered, what is next? Usually they will cover Arche Tuning. Arche Tuning is essential for most builds because this not only gives you your mutant cell up the top, which can introduce some pretty interesting effects. For example, this particular mutant cell assists me by increasing my skill power whenever I use my 4th skill. All right, so this helps to give Kyle a little bit of extra oomph for his bossing, but of course different builds will have different you know, like loadouts and things like that. So follow the Arche Tuning in the build. Arche Tuning, as at the time of this video, has a maximum level of 40. I hope this will increase in future, but the benefits of the Arche Tuning is to increase skill power, cooldowns, all that kind of stuff. Most builds are pretty standard with this. They don't really try and flippity hip hop around too much, but it's really up to the individual what they want to do. There's no right or wrong answer to this. All right, some people have their way of doing it, other people have their way of doing it. It's really up to you. Again, like I said, there's no true right or wrong answer. Okay, so whatever the builder does, you can follow that, especially if they can show you results that are good and appear good. Then follow what they do and just follow the Arche Tuning in the build, and you should be okay. Last but not least, when following a build, the last thing you will need to know about is the Inversion Reinforcer. This is a seasonal buff. All right, this tree will change every season, and you have to refarm it every season. And what it will do is it will add certain buffs to your characters that can really help certain loadouts. Because, for example, some of the more MP hungry characters, they need to rely on selective neurostimulation to give them that extra boost of MP. All right, so the builder will usually tell you which perks they take, why they take them, and somebody, well, it's usually me, but somebody will usually produce an overall guide for this once we fully once I fully unlock everything for the season. I'll usually provide an overall guide that goes through all the perks and suggests when you can use this, when you can use that, all that kind of stuff. Somebody will do it, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, great. So that covers all the main stuff. Now here's the side stuff. Not every builder goes into details with this. I certainly don't. Okay, and this is because the choices are pretty straightforward. But as at the time, there are only 3 dogs, which are called fellows, and there are only 3 vehicles as at the time of this video. If in future it expands more and there's more selections and more options, the builder will probably have to go into those as well. So I don't know at what time in future you may be watching this video. You may be somebody completely new, but if you are watching this in the future and there's more options, the builder who you are following will usually go through them. So I'm just going to go through it really quickly. Right now, there are 3 fellows. All right. This is the Vespers hunting dog. Yes, he is named Pure Freedom. This guy, all right, what he does is that he refills the rounds for your weapon in use. That means the one that's in your hands at regular intervals. So he gives you ammo, he generates ammo, and the auto refill rounds is on a 40-second cooldown. He also automatically dismantles things that are selected as dismantle in your junk filter. or stuff that does not meet the requirements in your junk filter, he'll dismantle this every 120 seconds automatically for you, saving you time. He also increases the chances of you getting a module by about 25%. That's what 0.25 times means. And the fellow item detection range means that he will pick up everything for you within a 60-meter radius. He will just pick up these items for you. All right, he won't pick up ammo or health, but he'll pick up item drops. So use that, okay? Now, the second fellow is the Hagio Sheepdog. This one is actually the first fellow to be released in the game, and he is the healer. All right, he heals you for 25% of your hit points every 30 seconds. So for most Descendant builds that are not too MP hungry, this guy is taken along as the heal bot. All right, he will just heal you passively every 30 seconds for about a quarter of your health, which can preserve you in most situations, since you don't have to worry about health drops, or it can even save you in some situations. So that's why he's named HP Potion. All right, that's what he's used for. Last but not least is Mana Potion, the Snowy Sled Dog, also known as the Husky. All right, this fellow will restore your MP every 45 seconds. He restores 16% of your Descendant's MP, and unfortunately that amount will never change. The rest of the stuff is all the same as the other dogs. So if your Descendant is very, very mana hungry, this is usually the option taken. Although 16% doesn't seem like a lot, in the field, it can be quite a big refresh. Therefore, in case you do happen to be unlucky and you don't get an MP orb, you might still be able to at least cast your skills, at least until you get to the next location, kill a few targets, you know, and then you might get an MP orb. So this guy is very useful for mana hungry Descendants. So the builder, if in future there is more options for the dog, will usually tell you which doggo to use. Okay. Last is the vehicles. Right now, as at the time of the video, there's only 3. But for most builds, they will be using the Vortex because it's the fastest bike in the game. If you happen to need more control, like you've seen in some of my videos, I still use the Orca, because if I have to go through a lot of tight corridors, the Orca is the better choice. It has very good turning. You can just like zoom around corners, turn left, right, center, do whatever you want. And the Glide is the basic ass vehicle you get before you farm the Orca and the Vortex in the Axian Plains. In future, they might change the farm for that, but at the end of the day, the Glide 4 is what you're going to use. And then once you have finished it, all you will do is upgrade it to level 10. Then you never have to look at it ever again. And you only do that so that you gain Mastery XP for this. All right? That's it. That's how you follow any build. So let me give you guys a summary. Most builders will first go through the Reactor, external components. Reactor to provide you with skill power, if they are skill-based Descendants, or at least the options on the Reactor are important, even if you're not a skill-based Descendant, because even gun-based Descendants rely on skills that like give them unlimited ammo or help them reload their guns, etc., etc. So the options on the Reactor are important. So follow the Reactor and the options. Then external components, make sure you get the external component core roles, as well as the options that are shown to you for each of the external components. Make sure you follow the correct external component sets as well, because the set effects also have useful attributes for your Descendant, and most builders will explain why we do this. All right, so they will usually show you all of these, take a screenshot of what you need, and off you go. After you've understood the Reactor and external components, what you will need is the Descendant modules as well as the trigger module. This will usually be explained together. Make sure you follow the correct sockets and get the correct modules, upgrade them all the way, and you're good to go. Some builds may call for you not to upgrade them all the way. That's up to the builder's discretion and what they're trying to achieve. Sometimes there's bugged interactions. I don't really like to rely on those, but you know, who knows what will happen in future for TFD. Okay, after that, they will usually go through the weapon, if any are necessary for the build. Sometimes they're just stat sticks. But regardless, they will usually show you the cores. All right, for example, this one's a stat stick that has a lot of sprint speed, so that whichever Descendant uses this, they can run really fast. And we've got the weapon adjustments there, which are used for other things. Like, for example, for bossing with Freyna, I have extra rounds per magazine, which is really helpful. Then they will usually show you the build, if any is necessary for the weapon. If it's a weapon-based Descendant, then this part is crucial, so please make sure you follow the cores, option roles, as well as the modules. Yeah? Okay, after that, if necessary, they will also go through the unique ability and why it's important for the stat stick, etc., so on and so forth. Okay, that covers the main aspects. Then they will go into the Arche Tuning, which amps up your Descendant with helpful things like additional skill power, cooldowns, and the mutant cell slot if they choose to use one or more. Okay, Then last but not least, they will usually go through the Inversion Reinforcer. The Inversion Reinforcer is the seasonal perks that you can get to enhance your Descendant. Those of you familiar with ARPGs will understand this. All right. After that, it's just the fellows and vehicles, and then you're good to go. You will have been able to copy the exact same build that the YouTuber, builder, whatever uses. As long as you follow these steps and they show you these steps in their video. If they do not, then they are horrible at their job, because if you don't have all this, you can't copy the build exactly. They can't just say do whatever you want here. No, because every bit of this all comes together to make the build happen. All right. So if in future I'm no longer around and you are following somebody else's content or videos or things like that, follow these steps and you will be fine. You'll be able to copy their build, no problem, and you'll be able to get the same results that they are showing you. If you miss out on these steps or you do not follow these steps correctly, what will happen is that their build is going to get a different result, your build is going to get a different result, and you'll be leaving comments asking them, why don't I have the same result? This has happened to me multiple times in the past where people said, my restored relic doesn't fire as fast as yours. And I will take a look at the restored relic and say, yeah, oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. I'll take a look at at the restored relic and say, dude, I've got 3 maxed out fire rate cores. Even 5% fire rate can have an impact upon how fast your weapon fires. So of course, mine is going to fire a lot faster if you don't have those maxed out rolls. And again, this was one of the RNG problems, but that's the topic for another video. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope this is helpful to you. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up, help other people out. If you're watching this in future when I'm no longer streaming TFD or no longer doing content for TFD, I hope whichever builder is building for you helps. I will still be here until I'm not. So if you ever see a video of me saying I'm not here anymore, then you can worry about that. But until then, I'll still be here. But just in case, I'm prepping these things just in case. All right. So I hope it helps. Don't forget to like the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.